On the night of January 29, 2025, a catastrophic mid-air collision occurred over the Potomac River near Washington, D.C., claiming the lives of 67 people. This is the story of American Airlines Flight 5342, a tragedy that shook the aviation world and raised concerns about aviation safety standards. This video will explore the events of that fateful night, the individuals involved, and the conditions that led to the collision between a passenger plane and a military helicopter. We will rely on official reports, news, and expert analysis to better understand this tragedy and honor the lives lost. American Eagle Flight 5342 was a domestic flight scheduled from Wichita, Kansas, ICT, to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, DCA, in Washington, D.C. The flight was operated by PSA Airlines, a regional subsidiary of American Airlines, using a Bombardier CRJ-700 aircraft. The flight, numbered JIA 5342, covered a distance of approximately 1,800 kilometers, with an estimated flight time of 2 hours and 15 minutes. This was a codeshare flight between American Airlines and PSA Airlines, a common practice for short-haul routes. The aircraft, with tail number N70PS, was an older model, having served for over 20 years. It was scheduled to retire by the end of the year. The flight was piloted by Captain Jonathan Campos, 34 years old, with 7,690 hours of flight experience, including 2,244 hours on the CRJ-700. Campos was regarded as a seasoned pilot and a flight instructor. First Officer Samuel Lilly, 28 years old, had 3,210 flight hours, including about 1,005 hours on the CRJ-700. Lilly was known as a meticulous and enthusiastic pilot. The cabin crew included 2 flight attendants, Denasia Elder and Ian Epstein, who played crucial roles in ensuring the safety and comfort of the 60 passengers. Among the 60 passengers were a significant number of young athletes from the U.S. figure skating team. The team was returning from a competition in Kansas. U.S. figure skating is the national governing body for figure skating in the United States. This detail highlights the heartbreaking loss of young talent in this tragedy. Having all members of the U.S. figure skating team on one flight was unusual, as the organization had a policy prohibiting all team members from flying together after a previous disaster. In 1961, the entire U.S. figure skating team perished in the crash of Sabina Airlines Flight 548. This history adds a heavy layer to the events of Flight 5342, underscoring the inherent risks of air travel despite all precautions. This flight was not just a commercial journey, it carried the hopes, dreams, and futures of those on board. Each passenger, each crew member had a story, and all those stories were tragically cut short. That same night, a U.S. Air Force UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter was conducting a routine patrol mission around Reagan National Airport. The helicopter, numbered P-25, had 3 crew members. Pilot Rebecca Lobb, 28, with 450 flight hours. Co-pilot Andrew I.S., 39, and navigator Ran O'Hara, 29. Rebecca Lobb was in command of the mission. The airspace around Reagan National Airport is highly complex due to the mix of commercial, medical, and military traffic. The proximity to Washington, D.C. means frequent military helicopter patrols, making air traffic management extremely challenging. The UH-60 was equipped with a modern collision avoidance system. However, the crew of the patrol flight had deliberately disabled this system. The reason was the high volume of air traffic, which caused the system to issue constant alerts, distracting the crew. This was a critical mistake. The helicopter was operating at a lower altitude in the area, placing it directly in the path of incoming aircraft. As Flight 5342 approached Reagan National Airport, it was initially cleared for runway 01, a preferred landing route. However, due to the presence of the helicopter in the area, air traffic control redirected the flight to runway 33. This change required Flight 5342 to execute a right turn, followed by a left bank to align with runway 33. This path took the aircraft directly over the Potomac River. Meanwhile, the helicopter maintained its patrol route at a low altitude in the same area, unaware that the passenger plane was approaching. The collision avoidance system on the CRJ-700 detected a threat, issuing a warning approximately 12 seconds before impact. However, the crew, flying at around 300 kilometers per hour during descent, had almost no time to react or locate the helicopter. Due to the altitude difference, the crew of Flight 5342 could not see the helicopter, but the helicopter crew reported seeing the CRJ-700, but by then, it was too late. At an altitude of approximately 300 feet, 90 meters, the two aircraft collided over the Potomac River. The impact was catastrophic. Both the CRJ-700 and the UH-60 plunged into the river. The crash site was chaotic. Rescue teams were immediately dispatched, but there were no survivors. All 60 passengers and 4 crew members on Flight 5342, along with the 3 military personnel on the UH-60, perished in the collision. This was the deadliest aviation accident in the U.S. in 20 years. The NTSB launched an investigation immediately. The black boxes from both aircraft were recovered and analyzed promptly. The investigation revealed several contributing factors. A key factor was the disabling of the helicopter's collision avoidance system. This was a serious violation of safety protocols that led to deadly consequences. Air traffic control also played a role. Only 5 controllers were managing a high volume of air traffic that night, including both civilian and military aircraft. The complex layout of Reagan National Airport, with its multiple flight paths, further complicated air traffic management. The runway change for Flight 5342 added to the complexity, compounded by the airport's location on a river with high-rise buildings nearby. The loss from this accident was profound. Families mourned the loss of loved ones, each with their own story. The aviation community grieved the loss of skilled pilots, dedicated crew members, and promising young athletes. Regional Airline PSA posthumously awarded Captain Campos, First Officer Lilly, and flight attendants Elder and Epstein with the President's Award, the company's highest honor. First Officer Lilly also received an honorary captaincy. American Airlines CEO Robert Isom expressed condolences and acknowledged the pain felt by all those affected. Memorial certificates were presented to the families of the crew members, recognizing their dedication and sacrifice. The airline also provided support to the families of all those lost in the accident. The incident prompted calls for stricter safety regulations and improved air traffic management. The Trump administration issued directives limiting helicopter operations around DCA following the crash. The tragedy of American Airlines Flight 5342 is a stark reminder of the complexities and dangers of air travel. It underscores the need for constant vigilance, adherence to safety protocols, and effective air traffic management. The story of Flight 5342 is a somber and tragic reminder of the importance of aviation safety and the loss of life when even one factor fails. As we remember the lives lost, we must also learn from their deaths. Let us never forget the 67 lives lost that night over the Potomac River. Their memory will drive change, ensuring such a tragedy never happens again.